No, but I do appreciate, because we haven't been over here, and it gave us an opportunity here to come and practice. The great part of having a practice facility is you don't need to be over here, But the bad part is we play our games here, so we got to be. And it's been used a lot by a lot of other people. So to get us over here was a good thing. A couple guys banged up today that didn't practice, but I first want to thank you always, for coming, spending your day here with us. We had media day earlier in Minneapolis, so it's nice to have it a little closer to home. And I'm excited. I'm excited about starting year 7. I'm thankful that I think when I took the job, I think they always remind I was the 5th coach in 11 years, I think. So, not good. But to be here year 7 is a blessing, and I'm very thankful for it, my staff and people around our program. I'm excited too. I got 2 kids now at Rutgers. This was I don't know if people know this, and I talk about it in recruiting. The most applicants ever in Rutgers University history this past year. The highest standardized test, the highest GPAs. It's the most talented, gifted class that's come here in a long time. So, a lot of great things happening, at this university, and our president's awesome. There's a great energy, with this university. A lot of great things going on. So, thankful to be the head coach again, and always excited. This is a unique, little bit different year. Every year is different for me, different obstacles. This group has been, really, they've been really good. They've been injury-free up until, today, really, missing a couple guys. Dean's been out. This was Dean's first practice back in a while, so he's missed, so just been banged up a little bit. But feel real good. 60% of our minutes, 62, whatever that is back. No one in the portal, which I appreciate. They've stayed here. I appreciate that these guys have come back. They have a lot of choices now, and thankful that they've all come back and took on, more responsibility, more roles, like our newcomers that we added, like the, guys that have improved. We're going to play a great schedule like we always do. You guys know what this league is, iron all over the place. We'll be challenged in a lot of places. Excited today to hear the news too. Coach, Corso told me we have 3 games right now, three completely sold out. Yeah, so Seton Hall, Michigan, Indiana.
Michigan, Indiana, and Seton Hall are sold out.
And we expect every game to be sold out. There's not a lot of tickets left, for those other ones. And also wanted to just remind people that we're playing, Fairfield coming up. That is the only game that people can get 100 level or 200 level tickets. We're doing it for Eric LeGrand and his foundation, playing Fairfield. My longtime coach, Jay Young, who does a great job there. So those tickets, we tried to make those affordable and, obviously for a great cause, going to Eric LeGrand. But if you want 100 level or 200 level, that'll be the only game that you can get them for. So, try to jump in and bring your families and that. And again, Eric obviously is an ambassador to Rutgers and to everybody. So it goes to a great cause. So appreciate that.
Jerry, you want to go?
Sure, Steve, just to follow up about the 2 guys who were missing, Caleb and Antonio, what can you tell us about how they're doing?
Yeah, our guy, I think like all of our guys just banged up. I think Antonio tweaked his ankle yesterday and Caleb tweaked his knee, so hopefully they're seeing doctors and they're doing rehab and all that stuff. So hopefully, we'll have them back soon, But all our guys have kind of, Jalen had, an issue with his knee. I think he's on the mend, so he's been back. He missed sometimes. Dean missed some days. So preseason's been long that way, but we really haven't had long stretches. A cut guy here, a guy there, so we've been blessed in that area. Keep them healthy. That's always the most important part of the year.
You mentioned a couple times this preseason that you've had no one in the portal. People talk about recruiting. How big of a part of recruiting is retention right now in the sport?
Yeah, I was just happy guys all feel valued and have stayed. I think retention moving forward is going to be, really, really important. You'd like to take over programs and your freshmen become sophomores and your sophomores become juniors, juniors become seniors. That's how it's been. Now that's not the case at a lot of places, So I'm thankful that, that at our place, those guys all became a year older, and I think they learn lessons as freshmen. I think they fight through obstacles. They learn things as sophomores. I like our blend this year particularly. I like our blend of experience, and I like our blend of young and enthusiastic, newcomers, and the addition of Cam Spencer and Derek and Wolf. And you didn't see Antonio Chol today, but he's shooting the ball as well as anybody. So I like their blend of enthusiasm and their personalities going with our veteran guys that, have been around a lot, know what the league is like, know what the wars of the conference are like. But that's going to be a hard thing moving forward, Jerry. It's just not the way it is anymore. And I'd like to keep it that way, though, here at Rutgers, if we can.
Steve, you talked about Jersey Mike's Arena before. Is there any update on the renovations there?
Yeah, I mean, there's been no talk of that. So, I haven't had any conversations. I think it's way down the road, but like I said, not a lot, has happened there. The great part I love Jersey Mike's just the way it is right now. I like how we fill it. I like how our students come out. It's become a really tough place to play, and that's changed a lot in 6 years. And this year will be no different. I know students are excited about, the season. So, somewhere down the road that'll happen, and I'm not too worried about that right now, to be honest with you. Got a lot of other things to worry about.
Eric?
Coach, you've talked before about new players in the program needing a year to acclimate. Cam Spencer obviously has a lot of experience, led the Patriot League in scoring. How is he acclimated to the program, and how's he going to help this year?
I mean, just he's done a really good job, in our locker room. The guys really like him a ton. I mean, he's mature. He came as soon as he could come, so he's been here all summer long. And, you see his game. He does more than shoot. That's the great part. He can really pass the ball. He's a good anticipator off the ball. He's led us in steals a lot of days in practice, along with Caleb, obviously. But, yeah, he's been a nice addition. He's built. He's strong. I mean, he never gets tired. He's in great shape. He was the leading scorer in the Patriot League. So I always say this, when you get a guy who's leading scorer in the league, everybody on the other team is trying to stop that guy. So if you're still scoring 20 points a game against the best defenders, but he's blended in. The guys really respect him. He's in the gym he lifted this morning, practice now. He'll be the first guy shooting after practice, and then he watches film. Real good student, another great kid from a good family. He's very, very nice addition to our program and most importantly to our locker room. So.
Go ahead, Ed.
Thanks. Steve, I think in the video, when you were in Minnesota, I was watching the video, you said you see Caleb potentially being a National Defensive Player of the Year candidate this year. You see him in that mold. He's already coming off winning the Big Ten Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah. So what is the next step that he could take that would even get that national attention and garner that? What else? What's his next level?
Yeah, I mean, once you're at this league and you become National Player of the Year, you should be in the conversation for National Player of the Year. Anyways, he was last year a little bit, but he's improved in a lot of areas already. But he feels more confident with our stuff. I'm going to give him more freedom to roam and to maybe gamble a little bit more than I have in the past. So he's such a good anticipator off the ball. But I also think he can guard post players. Like we have him at times guarding Cliff, in practice. Not on a regular basis, but he can sit down and guard 1 through 5, which very rarely can guys do. He's strong enough, tough enough to do that. But again, he's a little different in that he likes to take on, when we mix teams up, I'm going to guard Cam today. I'm going to guard, he switches who he guards. He tries to challenge himself in a lot of ways. His maturity, on that end of the floor too, and his maturity to challenge himself in practice with different guys really makes him a little bit unique. But yeah, he can get better. I think he takes that. He realizes how it's helped him, and how that end of the floor. It's 50% of the game, but 98% you're going to just talk offense. That's just the way it is. 98% of what's put out in social media, everything's about that end of the floor. But people now are starting to realize with him, he's really special, down that end of the floor and stuff. So we're going to have to talk about him a little bit more because, I always say this too. And, people oftentimes they'll talk about, how many points this guy scores or this guy scores. Whenever you have a player that can take the best player on another team and, you really should add those 12 points to his ledger and then tell me how much he averages, But nobody looks at basketball that way. It's just everyone, the guy that scores the most points, type of a deal. So, on the defensive end, if you can get, your team to be thinking about, this guy really, and I say the same thing about Paul because Paul's got to score more. If you add Paul's assist to his points per game, like the guy's 20 points a game. He's like leading scorer in the country, but no one does that. They give him the credit for the assist, but they don't give him the credit for the points that, he actually created that wouldn't have come about if he didn't do what he did. So you got to look at basketball a little bit differently with guys like that. And, but I'm really excited about the progression that Caleb's made, and thankful he came back because he had a lot of choices. He could have went a lot of places, and happy to have him here and hope people enjoy him another year. I certainly will.
Steve, you've been quick to embrace expectations since you've been here. Yeah. Is it exciting for you that you're at the point now where people who are buying these tickets expect you to be an NCAA tournament team when the season begins? That they come into a season just.
Yeah.
They expecting that.
That's what we expect anyways, but we've come a long way that way, Steve, and there's always, everyone doubts everyone, it's the great part about basketball. Let them doubt, I think we're good. In a league like this, you better be good, but I feel real confident we can compete. Thankful my staff came back. I think, Steve, that's a big part of this. Continuity is a good thing. Brandon Knight's excellent. Carl is on the road today recruiting, but he's excellent. TJ Thompson's excellent. Those guys are really good. But I think my players expect it. That's our goal. Our goal is to go back to back to back, which first time in school history. And if you throw the COVID year in, where obviously we won 20 games, you're really, 4 straight years, and we expect to do that. And I think there's that expectation around my staff. I think our fans. And I like that. I like the challenge. I think I took this job. I told you guys I like challenges. I like the challenge every year brings. But you got to be good to go to the NCAA tournament, and especially in a league like this, And you got to play through losing streaks, and you got to play through injuries. You're not winning every game. This is 9 teams went last year. We've had the most teams go to the NCAA tournament the last 3, 4, 5 years. I don't know how many, Jerry. So everybody's good, Every game on the road just about is sold out. I don't care who you're playing. It's tough. But I like that those are the expectations. Those were that way when we didn't have anybody at Jersey Mike's too. Now we're just been able to have, some success and hopefully continue to build off that.
Chris?
Just with Woolfolk, what have you seen from him so far, and how do you feel like his football background maybe will help him physically kind of make the adjustment to this league?
I'm really excited about Woolfolk. He's, when you watch film too, you get more excited about him. So he has never played basketball for 12 months in a period. It's only been 6 is the most. So he's been football 6 months and 6 months for his whole life. Now you start seeing he's been with us now for 6 months, what can happen the next. He's a great passer. He's got a really good feel around the basket. He goes up against Cliff every day, and there are some days that Cliff, he's scoring on Cliff on a regular. He's shooting the ball better. He picks up things defensively. Yeah, so, I always love getting those guys that haven't been full-time, because some kids have been full-time since they were 2 years old. The growth that a player like he could have, and he's got a great personality. Guys love him, so he's gonna really play. And he doesn't mind hitting you. I think that's what the football stuff does, which he does. He kind of likes it, and he kind of enjoys. I cracked him hard in practice. I'm like, he's on our team, my man. So just be a little bit careful. Save it for somebody else. But I really like he brings a good energy too. He's got a good motor. So it's getting better.
Steve, I'll talk about the other freshmen here. When we were here at Auburn, you had a lot of kind of good words to say about Derek Simpson. How much has his progression improved in the last month and a half?
Yeah, you know what, Derek's been really good. I think it's always the challenge that these guys have, especially with veteran guards. So like his first few workouts, I had Caleb guarding him the whole time because I wanted him to have a tough day. You know, this is welcome to college. Like, this is what you're going to have to face. He's really playing his way through that now. He's becoming a little more creative. He's really athletic. And so that's the first thing. And he knows how to play, and he's really coachable. But he's learning those freshman things. So you got to fight through screens. These are real screens. You got to stay in a stance the whole possession. You got, end of the shot clock. You got to know who you're throwing it to. And he's getting himself into good shape. I think the biggest adjustment, high school kids just aren't in college shape, so, and that's hard. That's hard to learn. So he's getting there, but really excited about him. He's going to play, can break down defenses, and, some days he's a problem for all of our guards to stay in front of. And then you see other days like he looked like a freshman, and we'll be all right. Hopefully we'll have less and less of those days and more of those other days, moving forward here. But there's a lot on, especially that position. There's a lot on guard. I'm thankful Jalen's back in the mix now too, because Jalen kind of helps him a little bit too. Jalen's a good talker, and he helps him in his adjustments.
Well, Dom and then Ellis.
Steve, I'm just curious about Cliff. Last year was the breakout year, and I've seen all the accolades in the preseason that he's earned, and deservedly so. What do you do as the coach? What does he do as the player to sort of account for the added attention that he'll get this year?
I mean, I think he deserves it, first of all. He's been as good a worker as we've had in the program. First of all, he's a Dean's List kid. He's just awesome, and he's great in the locker room. So telling people from whoever asks, about him, that's the first thing that makes him, kind of unique. His teammates love him. He just keeps getting better. You could see him on the court. He just thinks basketball a little bit differently now. He's really shooting the ball. He's made 3 threes in a practice. He's making more free throws. He's making better decisions out of the post. And he's so physically strong right now. He's in great shape. So he knows our screen coverages. We have 9 different screen coverages. His freshman year, we did 2 with him, 2.5. Now we can do 9, and he could sit down and guard other positions. So he just really has improved. Now we got to get him the ball. Like that's on us, and that's on him too at times. He'll garner more attention now, as he should, but I think he's ready for it. And I think he's getting ready to have, just a great year. We better enjoy him.
Antonio Cho, a late signee. What have you seen from his development in practice, and where do you see his role is on this team?
Yeah, he's as good a shooter as we have. He's 6'9", he's long. His wingspan is 7'2". He's long. Excited about him because I'm always nervous about a freshman that didn't have summer. So he didn't have summer this summer. He was playing AAU, and so he just got here. So he's probably 6 weeks into it, 5 weeks, whatever it is. He's been really productive. Yeah, he's been really productive. He's coachable. He's a good passer. He shoots the ball with a real confidence. He can get his own shot off. Yeah, so he reminds me of, Quasi Yaboa. We had him a few years ago, and Quasi was a 5th-year senior by the time we got him, so he's a lot older. But he kind of plays like that. And shoots the ball with tremendous confidence and got way more length. Still got to learn how to play, college defense, and that's usually the case with most of them. But offensively, he can play.
Brian here and then Brian there.
Coach, when you hear, I hope you've heard what Brad Underwood said about Cliff being, he's the best player in the league. When that compliment comes from another coach who's won at high levels and who's coached big men to high levels, when you hear that about your guy, how does that make you feel about what Cliff has done and what the coaching staff has done to develop him?
Yeah, I didn't hear that, but Brad Underwood's an awesome coach and a really good guy, and has done an unbelievable job with his program. It means Cliff gotten better. Cliff keeps improving. It's nice when other coaches talk about your players. You know, they've earned that. And Cliff is unique. Like he's the first guy in the gym in the morning, and he's driven. He's driven, and you know, it's nice. Those guys deserve. You know, so not a lot of people. Like I actually think he's a little underrated. You know, so it's nice to hear that. You know, from another coach in our league. But all that means is he'll be the first guy on the scouting report, and that changes your life too. So it's not always great. It's always great. Everyone talking about you. All right, now they're coming for you too. So you got to learn to make that adjustment too. And that's what, you know, our guys are going to have to make, because Ron was the guy. That's why he's playing in the NBA. You know, first guy on the report. Now someone else is going to have to take that role. It's not an easy role sometimes. You know.
Ryan?
Steve, you've talked about maintaining your coaching staff. Brennan reportedly had some interest from other teams in the offseason. You guys gave him a pretty sizable raise to keep him. Why was it important to keep Brandon Knight?
No, I think they all deserve great raises. Carl was offered jobs. I mean, the great part of my staff is they've all been offered jobs. You know, whether they've been reported or not, they've all had opportunities to leave and go other places. You know, I love those guys. I want them to stay here forever, but I also want them to be in a position. The great part is they're in a position now where people look at our program like, you know, they can hire those guys. So that's a compliment to the hard work that our players have done to put them in you know, in those positions and stuff. So, you know, thankful, you know, that he came back, but, you know, he's another guy. Like, he's going to have opportunities. Carl is going to have, TJ Thompson has been like lights out, as good as anybody. You know, and Steve Haynes been a head coach. I mean, my whole staff has, you know, had opportunities. I'm thankful to Pat Hobbs. I mean, I think his job's as hard as anybody's. Being an AD is a tough job. I think Pat does a great job. You know, with when those opportunities come up, and being able to, you know, just try to keep guys. But Brandon's been special, and thankful that he's back. But Carl too, TJ, all those guys, you know, and Dave Van Dyke is important as any. You know, Rich, keeping these guys healthy and all that. Randy, academically eligible with great GPA. So, you know, it's important. Sometimes you know, change happens. Guys, Jay Young went to Fairfield. It was a great opportunity. He wanted to be a head coach. You know, and that, you know, was great for Jay, and then our program grew in different ways when he, you know, so it's always those opportunities, give other people opportunities, and, you know, so it's a good day. You don't want to lose guys, but, you know, it's a good day when they get those good opportunities.
Steve, following up, and you just mentioned Jay, the exhibition game against Fairfield a week from Sunday, and the great cause that's going toward with Eric and his foundation. How did that game come about? Obviously, your relationship with Jay goes back to Stony Brook. What are you looking for from that game from your side, and just how did that come about?
You know what, I you know, we've been playing close scrimmages the last few years and stuff, and I just thought it was maybe time to put the lights on before the season starts, so these guys have an opportunity to play in front of, you know, home crowd. Some of the young guys get a chance. And, you know, 2 close scrimmages, really, nobody's in the gym, you know what I mean? So it's a different environment. So I'm hopeful that, you know, that environment will help them for the, you know, first game when we kick off, especially our young guys, the new group, and Cam, and, you know, all those guys that haven't played, you know, here. And I also know Jay's going to, well coached, and I know they're going to play great defense, and, you know, respect what he's done, you know, too, for his program. And then Eric LeGrand is like the greatest. So, like, when you combine all that, I thought we could get a huge benefit out of, you know, playing in front of a, you know, crowd before the season starts, as opposed to what I've been doing the last, you know, few years.
Dylan and then Jerry. We'll take a few more after that.
Coach, we've seen a lot of good defense from Mawat Mag the past couple of seasons. Today it looked like he was shooting the ball really well. What do you expect his role to be on the team this season?
Yeah, huge role. Mawat's, you know, had a great preseason. He really has. He's been healthy, which is important. He's a high-energy guy. You know, he started games for us, too. He's been, you know, a really good player. I mean, Gio was out last year, you know, for the Purdue game, and Mawat started that game and, you know, has done a lot of, you know, really good things. But he can shoot it. He's posting up. He's high energy. He gets tip-ins. He's one of our leading offensive rebounders. He can guard multiple positions. You know, and I think Dean and he, you know, every day they went up against Ron Harper. Like, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And I think Dean's going to have a great year, too. And Oscar Palmquist can do some stuff, too. Like, you guys, he can really shoot the ball. He knows how to play. Plays at a nice pace. Andre Hyatt will get more opportunities too. But all those guys are really important, and they can play multiple positions, and they're going to have more opportunities. But Mawat has really had a great offseason. Going into the year too, I can move him around. He can play fours, he can guard threes, he can guard twos, he can sit down and guard a point guard. So another guy that gives me tremendous versatility. And he's been here. He knows what the league is like. He's been here. He's not learning stuff for the first time. So I appreciate that part of him. He's been in big games. He's made big plays for us. So I think about those things. Andre Hyatt against Indiana made the 2 biggest free throws of the season. These guys have been. And now they'll have more opportunity, which I'm happy for them. They've worked for that.
Jerry right here.
Steve, following up about retention, are there characteristics you look for in recruiting that give you an idea that a player, will be loyal or will be easier to retain?
I still try to recruit great kids, Jerry, from great families. You try to get a feel for the programs that they're from, too. I think that's an indicator, too, sometimes. I would say this, I said this to NBA people many times. I said, Ron Harper, one high school, one AAU program, one college. There's not guys like that anymore. He came here, he stayed. Paul Mulcahy, these guys, have stayed. So past is usually an indicator, sometimes of the future. But I also think it's an indication of how we treat our guys, the right way. But, I think if you're up front with people from the beginning, and, I tell these guys all the time, Caleb McConnell will tell you, when I sat down with Enos, I said, it's not going to be easy. You have to work your tail off. You're going to, this isn't Disney World, college is just tough. You got to go to school. You got to do, then when they come back and they say, I told you, you're going to have to do this, this, and that. And you may not play as a freshman. You may play a lot, So I think when you have a good staff too that helps them, guide them through all the obstacles, is they're already having obstacles. The first day that Antonio Cho lifted weights with Dave Van Dyke, the next day he couldn't lift his arms. So, but we already prepared him for that. You're gonna feel awful for about 3 weeks. You know what I mean? Just fight through it, and he couldn't lift it. I can't shoot. I can't. He went through it. What we had already told him that's how it's gonna be. Now he lifts weights every day. He's through those kind of things. So, I think when you can have those real conversations with people, and we have good people here surrounding our program. There's great people at Rutgers. Kind of explain to them. Good people are going to help you through the, tough times, and this isn't high school anymore. I think sometimes, that helps too, but you got to have special people around them because he's have a lot of opportunities now, and there's always someone in the rear. Tell them the grass is greener, and the grass is just different every place, that it's not always greener, so have those conversations with you guys, but I'm very thankful too. They got 1 year this year. That's what you're kind of, they got 1 year. Everyone stay on board at the end of the year. We'll talk, and there's always going to be some things that we need to improve on, some things that they need to improve on. But hopefully you get through the year, and just get to fight through the obstacles that every kid faces, And we've been fortunate and thankful. They all, again, I think 1 of 5, 6 programs. It's probably going to be none next year. Who knows? It's certainly not going to be. No one in the portal, I can promise you that. So it's probably going to be more like 3,000 or something. That's what it keeps, heading to. So that's what it is. If you were a free agent every year, you guys may be, someone's going to give you something here. You all may be losing your jobs too every year. Go somewhere different, right? So same thing now. These kids have a lot of choices,
A few more here.
which is
Adam.
good.
Steve, you mentioned Oscar a few minutes ago, and that's what I wanted to ask you about next. We saw him run with the 2s in 5-on-5s earlier.
Yeah.
From his, I guess this is the start of his third year in the program now. So from his second year to his third year, how have you seen him improve, or in what areas have you seen him improve, and what role do you imagine for him now?
Yeah, this has been the first time, he's healthy finally. He's always had some injuries and some backs and some foots and some things like that. He's real mature now. He's another guy in line to graduate and stuff. He kind of has a good feel. And he's the one guy, and I say this to my staff, like whenever we played him, and we played him in a lot of different big games, sometimes you wouldn't play for a few, he was always productive. He would rebound, he would make a three, so he's always been productive when we've put him in there. Now, he hasn't as many opportunities. We've had some, other guys, but, he can play, again, multiple positions. I have him on that black team because he gives that team direction. He's kind of like a little bit of a point, like forward. He's a lefty. He can really shoot the ball. He's really good around the basket, too. But he has the best feel for our program and what we're trying to do. He's in the right spots. He's a great box-out guy, and that's become an important theme for us because I really think the last 2 years we have not been a good rebounding team. We have not been a good defensive team, and everyone tells me differently. I'm just telling you, we haven't been, and I haven't been happy with that. He helps us in some defensive, areas. He lays wood on guys. He hits them when a shot goes up. He knows where to be, in our rotations. So like I keep telling him, just keep, be that singles hitter. Just keep like plugging away and keep. He's going to get opportunities. He'll get more this year, too. He can guard, the 5 spot, too, a little bit if I want to go small with the position. So I really like him. And I think, he came mid-break one year. That was his redshirt year. Then COVID hit. And then, it's, I don't even know what year he is now. You don't even know what year anybody is, for that matter. But, he's got a few more years of eligibility, and I think he has a chance to, really be a nice piece of the puzzle here.
Last two quick because we got the players downstairs. So Steve.
Yeah, you guys need to talk to the players. That's enough with me.
Steve, as difficult as it was to take this program from where it was to being an NCAA tournament team, is it even harder for that next step to take a program that's in making the tournament too challenging to win the tournament? Is that a harder step?
I mean, I think it's always hard in that tournament. It's just there's a lot of factors that go into. The tournament and stuff. But, it's hard to be good every year, especially in a league like this. Someone's not going to be good, and they're probably going to be pretty good, and it's just not because they're not good. It's because the league is so good. And I look at some of the games last year, and this was the year that every game, it seemed like, in our league went down to one possession. So you could flip a lot of records with, one bounce of the ball or a bad call or a good call or, those kind of things. So it's so competitive, but, that's the challenge. Every year brings different challenges, too. I'd like to, you think a guy's coming back, he had a great year last year. It doesn't mean he's having a great year this year. It doesn't mean a guy who had a bad year last year can't have a great year. It doesn't mean, so you got to figure out your team. This team has a different personality than you got to figure out that personality. You got to figure out, how the pieces fit in the locker room. And, I was saying this to somebody the other day. I mean, everyone asks a lot of questions about Ron and Gio. Well, Ralph Agee was a really important part of our team last year, and Luke Nathan. No one talks about them. They don't score points. They were awesome. They were awesome in the locker room. They were awesome in how they talked to players. Like, those are really important, like, pieces, too, that don't get, anything. So it's hard to be good every year, and you got to have a lot of pieces fit well. You got to stay healthy. I mean, as you guys know, COVID's flying around still, like you got, there's a lot of things that, that go into it. Prep time for games, like, how your team's playing. When you play a team may be playing great, you play them. You may not be playing great, It doesn't mean you're not a good team. It's just like maybe you were a good team later on and you weren't good then. And maybe they were really good then playing with good confidence and then they weren't later on. And then people say, oh, that team wasn't good. Well, when we played them, they were really good. That team was really good when we played them. And they were believing in themselves, you know what I mean? So our season's so long. So you got to get through all those, like, obstacles, And I say obstacles and sometimes you guys, like, and it's so true. And they come in every day I walk into my office. It's Caleb today. I mean, he's been like great, Like Caleb, like Antonio can't. He's been our best shooter. Like he can't. All right, so now someone else has. Now Mowat was playing the 3 spot today. Mowat's been playing the 4. But that was good. I like to see him, at that position too. So there's just so many obstacles that go in, to being good, and everyone can't be good, especially in a league like this, or perceived to be good, because someone has to finish. Last, and that kind of thing. But I like the challenge that I'm at now. Considering 6 years ago, the challenge was, I like this challenge, and I like this group. So we'll see where it takes
Work
us.
on this last one.
Coach Paul Mulcahy developed a lot throughout last season. First five assist man in like 40 years for Rutgers.
How about that?
Also emotional player. How's he developed as a leader? How's he developed his game? And what role do you expect this year?
Paul's always been like a off the charts leader. You know, since he arrived on campus too, we've done nothing but win. You know, and that wasn't the case. Like this kid, you know, freshman year because of COVID, he could be 4 straight years in NCAA tournament when we hadn't been for 30 years. Paul graduated about in 3 years. I mean, the kid's just awesome, and he does all the winning things. He's always been a good leader. Now he's the most vocal guy, you know, too, for us. I think he has a little swagger and confidence. You know, he can score in this league. He scored 30 points in games. He led the league in, assists, like you said. But he also is a rebounder. I mean, he makes, unbelievable plays. He organizes our team. You know, he's really gotten better. He watches the most film. You know, he's been a good leader to our young guys. Just continues, to grow. And I think physically, too, he's grown. Like, I mean, guys usually shrink when they get to, I've never had a guy, I think he's like 6'8" now. He's really a big guard. I mean, as big as you can get at that position. So I like that part of it, too. I don't know what he's eating or whatever, but he's getting bigger and stuff. But, he just got a different confidence. He's been through a lot, so you really trust those guys. They've played in every big game. He's made a ton of big plays for us and big shots. He's obviously going to take on a bigger role this year. But he had a pretty big role in the last few years, too, and a huge role in us, winning and playing basketball, like, with a little swagger.